r/entitled parents. What is up, guys? Mr. Reddit here, back with another episode of Entitled Parents Stories. r/entitled parents is one of my favorite subreddits, and I really enjoyed making this. Now kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. So our first story today, we've got Entitled Parent Wants to Raise My Baby Because I'm Too Dark. After that will be Entitled Kid Thinks He Has Rights and Gets Proven Wrong. After that, Entitled Mother Physically Assaults Me and Vice Principal Tries to Expel Me. Why? Because the teachers are obviously lying. After that, Entitled Mother Demands I change my movie that I'm watching on my computer to something her son wants to see. After that, Awful Mother Tries to Force her daughter to date me, and our final story for the day, Entitled Parent Fights for her kid, who's 17 years old, to get a job before other candidates. I've got timestamps to each story in the comments if you'd like to skip to one of them. Before we begin, Red Dragon, Patrick, and Transformer Bash, welcome to the channel, you guys. Entitled Parent Wants to Raise My Baby Because I'm Too Dark. I am a very old woman now, but when I was young, I was a straight-up bitch who didn't let anyone bully me or try to take advantage of me in a vulnerable state. However, there was one instance where I was caught off guard as the situation was incredibly unbelievable. As a backstory, I was 21 at the time and had just delivered a beautiful baby girl. It was a very difficult delivery, which had me in the hospital for 2 months after my daughter was born. She went home a month before me. During that time, my husband and I broke up. My mother had to put him out of our apartment as he was an entitled jerk, but that is another story altogether. I was finally released from the hospital on the condition that I do not allow myself to get too upset, as my stitches were not totally healed and I had very bad anxiety attacks, which would shoot up my blood pressure and I would end up in intensive care. So this is my story. I had just been released from the hospital. Mother brought me home and set me in the living room so I could watch TV and she could talk with me while I was resting. It was a very important thing that I kept as still as possible and rested, not letting anything bother me, as any distress could cause my blood pressure to rise and cause a rupture of my stitches due to the complications of my pregnancy. I couldn't even hold my newborn baby, as it would be too much physical stress. She was sleeping peacefully in her bassinet. No one was supposed to visit me until I had rested a few days, so I could be strong enough to handle company. Enter Entitled Parents. My mother informed all of my family that I could not receive visitors. There was a knock on the door. In enters the entitled parent and the mother-in-law, gifts in their hand, demanding that my mother let them see the baby. I was laying on the sofa by the bassinet, but was completely ignored. My mother questioned why they showed up today, and why they did not wait until the weekend when I was able to handle company, and they said they didn't get her message. An entitled parent wanted to see her new niece. They practically yanked my daughter out of her crib, exclaiming how much she looked like her father, and were very impressed that she was very fair-skinned and had a shock of red hair as well. All they could talk about is how light she was. They shoved the gift at me to open up, which my mother intercepted. She also tried to keep me calm, as I was getting very upset that they were passing my child around like she was a doll. While I am not in any way considered dark-skinned, I am also not considered overly fair. However, Entitled Parent was so fair she could pass for white, blonde hair and all. My husband's family is notoriously color-struck. They favor light-skinned members of the family. Since Entitled Parent was fair, she felt she was far better than anyone else, and that she somehow should raise my daughter. These facts led to this exchange. Entitled Parent.
She is so beautiful. She looks just like me.
What?
She would be better off being with someone who resembles her.
What the hell are you talking about?
You are just not the right person to raise the child. The child would be better off with me.
I'm getting angrier as every moment passes. Please put my child back. Please.
You want her to have a wonderful life, don't you? She would have a great life with me.
My mother and I didn't like where this was going. Mother went to take my child from the arms of the entitled parent to put her back in the bassinet. An entitled parent held my child tighter and exclaimed,
"You do not deserve this child. You are too dark to care for this child. I will take her back home with me. You can visit her now and then if you like."
My blood boils and I nearly jump off of the couch to go after this bitch when I get a very sharp pain in my stomach and I fell on the ground. My mother. Put that child down right now or I will whip your ass. At that, my mother snatched the child from the entitled parent's grip and put the child back in her bassinet.
She then grabbed and escorted her out of my apartment. The entitled parent was cussing her out, calling her a whore, and that the baby probably wasn't even mine, which didn't make any sense. At this point, mother-in-law was very quiet and followed the entitled parent out. I would like to say that it was the last I saw of her, but it wasn't. She contacted a much older my child when she was around 9 years old and informed her that she would have had a much better life if she had been raised by her. My child already knew about the incident from my mother and just politely ignored the remarks. My child is a mother herself now and does talk to the entitled parent from time to time. Entitled parent has spoken to me once or twice during this time, not apologizing, but now trying to get me and her brother back together. We have been divorced for 20 years. Alright, next up. Entitled kid thinks he has rights and gets proven wrong. I work for a towing company, handling releases of impounded vehicles. This is the first entitled parent situation I've had, and I'd love to share it. I'm on mobile, so I apologize if formatting is wrong and whatnot. It will be me. The entitled peckerhead is the kid, and the mother, not so dearest, is the entitled mother. We had a vehicle get impounded with some serious damage due to drunk driving. The driver of the vehicle was not the registered owner. It sat in our yard until about 3 days ago when we got payment and released the vehicle. Entitled kid showed up on Monday, hoping to release said vehicle, showed up with nothing but $10. Since it had been in our yard for a month, the price was definitely more than $10. $10 doesn't even cover the administration fee. Entitled kid waited patiently in line, waiting for me to finish with the previous customers, so I didn't expect much from him in regards to temperament and attitude. When I was done with the previous customers, he came up and said he was here to get his vehicle. I pulled up the vehicle information I gave him, and I realized he wasn't the registered owner, and by law, we can't release it to anyone who isn't the registered owner. I told him so. The conversation that follows is, "It's my car. I'm the only one that drives it, so it's mine." That may be the case, but you're not the registered owner, and we need the registered owner to sign our paperwork. "But it's my car. I want it. I can pay for it." Well, judging by the fact you're holding $10 in your hand, you can't, in fact, pay for it. $10 is more than enough. Give me my car. The current outstanding balance is $468. Your $10 doesn't cover that. Entitled kid looks at me with a state of confusion on his face and proceeds to leave. I figured this was the end of it. I was so wrong. Not even an hour later, I received a call from entitled mother, the actual registered owner of the vehicle. We went through the whole vehicle make, model, and color. "Why is my son telling me $10 won't cover the costs?" That would be because the current amount owed is $468. "How is it that much?" We have storage fees for vehicle impounded for drunk driving and various other things. "What does drunk driving have to do with any of this?" "It's been here for over a month. We picked up the vehicle on February 27th. The driver of the vehicle was pulled over after hitting a telephone pole and blew over the legal limit, hence why the vehicle was impounded for drunk driving." "How has my son been getting around for a month if the vehicle was there, huh? Answer me that." "I have no idea. Seeing as I don't know you or him, I do know that the vehicle has been here for over a month, seeing as I processed the paperwork when it came in." "You're lying. You're just lying. I'll be down there soon." "Okay. Just so you know, if you'd like the vehicle to be released, you need to pick up a release certificate from any SGI issuer. Thanks." Should now add, we have a police officer on the property. Many threats have been uttered and violence is a major thing here. Entitled mom and entitled kid show up with some fancy looking guy, and I get the paperwork ready before they even make it through the door. Turns out, fancy looking guy is her lawyer. "This is my lawyer. He needs to see the paperwork right now." Okay, sounds fair. After what seems like forever, was probably only 15 minutes, the lawyer pulls entitled mom aside and tries to quietly tell her that there's nothing he can do. Entitled mom tells the lawyer, "You better do something or you're fired." Lawyer tells the entitled mom, "I can't do anything. All the paperwork is here, and maybe I could have done something at the time this happened, but it's been well over a month now and my hands are tied." At this point, the cop is closer to the counter, listening in, waiting for any point he has to jump in. Entitled mom looks at me. "Why was the vehicle impounded again?" I tell her it hit a telephone pole, caused major damage and drunk driving. Entitled mom looks to the entitled kid. "Is that true?" "No, she's lying. I'm only 16. Where would I even drink?" Entitled mom. "Told you he couldn't have been drinking. Lower your price and give us the car. The police officer responds, "Hello, miss. I'm just curious as to who will be towing the vehicle home." "My son will be driving it home." "No. With the amount of damage done to the car, it's best that it's not driven, and considering entitled kid is 16 and was caught drinking and driving, he has no license." "My son wasn't drinking and driving. He still has his license."
"May I see that license?"
"I don't have it on me."
"It's okay. I'll just find you on my nifty little laptop here." Police officer proceeds to pull up entitled kid's file and bam, no license. Has to go through the whole driving course again. Has a fine to pay for drinking and driving and everything. He turns his laptop so entitled mom and lawyer can see it. Entitled mom, without another word, pays the outstanding balance on the vehicle, pays us extra money to tow it back to her house, and they all leave together. The second that door closed though, oh boy. Judging by what I could hear through the door and what I saw on the cameras, entitled mom was pissed that entitled kid made her look so stupid, and that entitled kid would be paying her back for years over this. Her lawyer said he wouldn't be working for her further and got in his car and left. As they got closer to the vehicle though, entitled mom smacked entitled kid on the back of his head, and judging by what happened next, he was left to find his own ride home, seen as she left without him. Entitled kid gets caught drinking and driving. He lost his license and vehicle. Entitled mom refused to believe it until the police officer heard the truth. Pays for vehicle and leaves without another word. Next up, we've got entitled mother physically assaults me, and vice principal tries to expel me. Why? Because the teachers are obviously lying. Backstory. So I had been going to school with this kid for 7 years at this point, and for a few years I had been on the same bus as him, despite living on opposite sides of the town. So I was always stuck on the bus for over an hour, and didn't get home until like 5 p.m. Because of how late I would get home, and the fact that my bus stop was over a half-mile away from where we were living at my grandparents' at the time, since we were doing construction on our house. My parents got me a cheap, crappy cell phone in 4th grade. I'd post a pic, but I can't even find it. So me and this kid had never liked each other. We were both smart, but me far more so. Humble brag, which made him jealous of me. I explicitly remember that in 4th grade, on the last day of school, we all had to pass around a paper on which we'd write something nice about the person whose paper it was. He wrote on mine, second smartest in the class after me. Anyway, one day riding home on the bus in 5th grade, he tried to steal my phone. So we fought, and I ended up punching him in the face. I had some behavioral problems as a kid due to my ADHD, and so I got in fights and I hit a lot. Suffice to say that from this point on, he and his mom hated me. She even tried to get me kicked off the bus, but failed since the other kids said he had attacked me first, and there was literally no way for my parents to pick that's what all the other kids were doing. It went and also head back to my seat. Once again, I think nothing of it. Boy, was I wrong. The next week, I'm sitting in social studies. One of the few days I was staying in school, as some of the bullying I was receiving was so bad, I would just skip school or make myself vomit so I wouldn't have to go. And over the PA system, they say, "OP, please step out of class." Now this is very weird since in this school, they never said, "step out of class." They always said, "go to XYZ's office," or "go to XYZ place." But whatever, I stepped outside my classroom and just waited. I was standing there for like 20 minutes, when this crazy-looking 30-year-old woman comes up to me and grabs my arm and digs her long nails into it. Ladies and gents, this is our entitled mother. While she wasn't your standard Karen, me, who was a chubby 11-year-old at the time, was terrified. She starts screaming at me.
"Don't you ever touch my son! Don't you ever touch my son again, you dirty little shit! Don't you touch my son!"
She carried this on for about 5 minutes, all the while with me terrified, since I had no clue what was going on. She then stops and vice principal walks over and pulls me into her office. Entitled mother follows. So I'm sitting in vice principal's office very confused as to why I am there, and she starts off with the classic principal line of, "Do you know why you're here?" I of course respond, no, since I had no clue why I was there. And then entitled mom starts yelling at me.
"Stop lying!"
Vice principal does nothing to stop her, but then says to me, "You're here because you hit this entitled kid." I responded, "When? I never touched him." Vice principal then tells me, "Entitled kid says that you tackled him against the wall during gym when we played the game, and that you punched him in the face."
Additionally, he says that on XYZ day in science, you knocked him to the ground, jumped on top of him, and started clawing at his eyes. And you hurt him so badly he had to go to the nurse. I respond by telling her that's completely untrue, but Vice Principal hated me. One day, my bully locked me outside in the pouring rain, and when she let me back in, she said that I should be suspended for being outside, even after she saw the camera footage. So when I tell her that I didn't do it, she says that she doesn't think she can trust me over the entitled kid, him being a paragon of truth or something, and calls up my mom. My mom, who mind you, was at work just trying to finish up so she could get home to her infant child, takes my bag and says that I did nothing wrong because I didn't do anything, and says that before Vice Principal rushes to judgment, she first needs to ask the teacher and the coach. Entitled Mom rejects this out of hand, since after all,
my precious little entitled kid could never be lying.
Hey lady, I've got a surprise for you. Both teachers come in, which I saw since I was stuck in her office for the rest of the day, and they both say, before Entitled Mom and the Vice Principal and I. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. OP never did any of this. Vice Principal lets me go home, but tells me that there will be a meeting tomorrow with my mom and I, as well as Entitled Mother. The next day I have a headache, so I go to the nurse. Now, I don't know how it works in most schools, but in our school, when you went to the nurse, you needed to sign in, and the date was written down. I tell In, who liked me, the story, and asked her if she could check the records. She pulls me out the forms, and she says the entitled kid hadn't been there in over 2 months. He never went. Me, excited by this new information, I asked the nurse to come over to speak to the Vice Principal later with me and my mom, and the nurse agrees. Later that day, Entitled Mom, and I walk into the Vice Principal's office and sit down. Entitled Mom starts her rant about how I am a terrible child who is abusing her son and should not be allowed in this school. My mom gets up and tells her, to her face, that she is full of crap, and that all the teachers saying I did nothing wrong, and that maybe they need to ask the nurse about what happened. Vice Principal calls up the nurse and asks her about this, and nurse tells the truth. The entitled kid hadn't even been there. My mom sits down, thinking that maybe we would be allowed to leave because, you know, I'm innocent. But oh no, dear reader, this isn't what happened. Vice Principal turns to me and my mom and says to our faces, dead serious, maybe that teacher could be lying. That's right. These teachers who had steady, secure jobs at this school had worked there happily for years at the highest paying school in the area would sacrifice their jobs. Entitled Mother smugly yells out,
Of course they're lying. They all just want entitled kid to get in trouble.
My mom, fed up both with this and severe bullying I had been going through, pulls me up, tells Vice Principal we're leaving, and heads to the AO's office. She then pulls me out of the school for the next year. Joke's on Vice Principal though. She got fired. Yay. Forgot to mention this. Thanks for reminding me, but Entitled Mom got banned from going on school property for assaulting a minor. Bad lady. Next up, we've got Entitled Mom demands I change my movie that I'm watching on my computer to something her son wants to see. My high school had a day where grades 1 through 8 would come in and see what high school was. From what I was told, parents could join their children. A grade 3 class came into my history class to learn about the prime ministers or something. I was watching How to Train Your Dragon on my computer when the class came in. The teacher, okay, everyone find a seat. A lot of kids didn't go to school that day. Most kids were doing the presentation. Entitled kid sits next to me.
What are you watching? Can I watch it?
I'm watching How to Train Your Dragon 3. And no, because it's a bit of a scary movie. And it's part of a franchise, so you wouldn't understand what's going on.
You're mean.
Cool.
You should let my son watch or put on something he likes because that movie isn't age appropriate and entitled kid doesn't even like it.
No, the presentation is starting soon, and it's my computer. I'm allowed to watch whatever I want. I unpaused the movie, but unfortunately a scary scene came on. I'm not saying which part it is, it's kind of a spoiler. An entitled kid sees this and screams.
What the?
Don't swear in front of your kid.
Put Frozen on instead of that garbage.
No, it's my computer. Mr. T, can I go to room 103? Yeah, sure.
Your student was watching a horrible movie.
What was it?
How to Train Your Dragon.
How to Train Your Dragon is not bad. I told the entitled kid he couldn't even watch it.
Put on Frozen is an apology.
The presentation is starting.
Fine, but you should punish your student for watching such a horrible movie.
No, OP is a good student, and she warned entitled kid about the movie.
Well, my son didn't like it.
The door is right over there. And if you don't stop talking garbage, he was around students, so he couldn't swear. About my student, I will force you to leave. Thanks, Mr. Teacher. Next up, awful mother tries to force her daughter to date me. So for some backstory, I am a gay male, 16 years old, nothing too special looks-wise. I am very good friends with one girl who I met in my clarinet section in band. A few days ago, we both decided to see Jordan Peele's U.S. 9.5 out of 10, I'd say. We both enjoy horror movies, so that worked out. Since U.S. is typically R-rated, her mother had to come. You all can see where this is going. For anyone new, we've got me, we've got my friend, and the entitled mom. So the night started off fairly normal. Friend came and picked me up. Entitled mom in the back seat of the car. Entitled mom was on her phone, which I thought was rude, but oh well. So we were talking mostly about memes and spilling the hot tea on the way to the cinema. Once we got there, we spent 20 minutes looking for parking, the normal mall stuff. We got our tickets and all was well. Little did we know, her mom would never walk across the ticket station with us. So nature called. And as I started walking to the bathroom, I overheard entitled mother asking,
What's your boyfriend's name again?
Friend explained how I wasn't in fact her boyfriend. I didn't hear much else because I got to the bathroom and at the time I thought it was just a simple misunderstanding. A bit later I walk out of the bathroom.
Excuse me, OP. Your friend here is saying that you two aren't dating.
Yes, we are just friends. Is that a problem?
That's bull crap.
Mom, stop.
No, I know what you teenage boys want. Why don't you just date her?
I make a confused look and gesture to the girl like, are you hearing this? I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you saying my daughter is ugly? I know that you boys are only into pretty girls.
Mom, stop. Listen here, if I were to date anybody, large emphasis on that, it'd be because I enjoy being around them, not because they look attractive.
Are you mocking my daughter now? I saw how you put quotes on attractive. Were you not listening?
Yeah, you missed my entire point. At this point, people were crowding around. Both of us had maintained relatively calm and passive-aggressive, but the facade was cracking. I didn't know how long it would take me to punch that shit-talker in the face. Also, friend looked like she was ready to cry.
Now, if you have any respect whatsoever, you'll date my daughter. In fact, you should kiss her right here. I'm sure you wouldn't want to humiliate yourself in front of all these people. Mom, stop.
Me screaming. Are you even hearing yourself? Entitled mom screaming louder.
If you have any respect, you will date my daughter.
Me, having run out of options. Okay, you know what? I don't care anymore. It's only fair I tell you that I am gay. She stops dead. She seems to stare at me, sizing me up. Then she lets loose. She clogs me straight in the nose and knocks me down to the ground. The crowd was on her in a flash, restraining her despite her threats. I don't remember anything clearly from that moment, but I know that she got detained and arrested later. For me and my friend, we got refunded tickets in the past to see the movie for free, even without a guardian. Some nice man even gave us his Coke. My friend was crying for a while after that, and she ended up leaning on my shoulder for the rest of the movie. I have no doubt that her mom would have thought we were dating just from that, but part of being the GBF, which is gay best friend, is that you need to be the emotional supporter, almost like a parental figure at points. I was genuinely worried for her, and I still am. Her father died of cancer a few years ago, and so I don't know where she can get away from the entitled mother. I desperately want to get entitled mother back for that, but who knows. The trial is in May, and I will definitely keep you updated, just in case she ends up walking free. Comment revenge suggestions, please. Our final story. Entitled parent fights for her kid, who's 17 years old, to get a job before other candidates. Little context before I start. I used to be a supervisor for public parks in charge of lifeguard staff and pool maintenance. Every year in the spring, we held an exam and tryout interview. Let's call it a test. To fill the available positions, I was in charge of 8 pools, 15 to 20 splash pads, and 8 to 10 kiddie pools. Every year we see many more candidates than positions, so not everybody that passed was hired. But I personally called everyone, pass or fail, to tell them their result and offer to put them on our reserve list in case we needed their services later in the year. That year we had about 115 candidates that passed the test out of 250. We had 11 positions to fill. 11. No per park. Total. I had to make a lot of phone calls and spoke to a lot of disappointed kids. And we are off. We've got the entitled mother. We've got the mayor. We've got the incompetent kid. And we've got me. Hiring season is about to end. Summer is about to start. Teams are being built. 250 plus calls have been made, and I am very happy with the candidates that accepted the jobs and have a long list of future lifeguards I can call if they are needed. About 60 wanted to be on the call list. About a week after I think I was done with hiring and can start focusing on training the staff, I get a phone call from entitled mother, and right after she introduces herself.
My daughter just told me she wasn't hired. Why wasn't she hired? She has all of the qualifications, and you told her that she had passed your test.
Well, yes, she did pass, but we had candidates that did better than her, and they were called first. All the positions were filled before I got to let her know, unfortunately. However, when I spoke to her, I offered to keep her name on the reserves list if she wanted, and she did.
What is she supposed to do all summer? Sit down and wait for your call?
As I explained to your daughter, we have to call between 20 to 30 from the reserve list due to injuries, heat exhaustion, and other issues with staff. So if we get to her name, she will be invited to join the team.
Then you have to put her first on your list so she gets called.
Unfortunately, our policy states that we call the candidates from the highest score to the lowest.
But she really wants to be a lifeguard and she deserves a job. You have to hire her.
I can tell you, she passed and she is on my list. No more, unfortunately. I wouldn't want to give false hope to anyone, and she understood that when I spoke to her.
But I am telling you that she wants to work. You will have to hire her. You'll see.
If the passing grade was 70 out of 100, entitled kid would have gotten a 72. She barely had the skills, but wouldn't be a danger to herself and wouldn't kill anyone. But she was very low on the list. A few days go by, and I don't think about the situation anymore. One of my lifeguard just graduates had found a job, and I started calling the reserve list to replace personnel. Usual procedure. The day after I fill the position, I have a message on my voicemail.
This is entitled kid's mom. I know you hired new staff because it was her best friend that you called. Why won't you hire my kid? I told you before you would have to hire her. I'm friends with the mayor. I'm calling him right now.
I tell my director about the call and ask if it's okay if I handle the call if it ever comes. The mayor was a very liked person in my city and participated in activities with the population. I had given him swimming lessons for a couple of years before, so I knew him very well and wasn't stressed at all. I had been working as a supervisor since before his election, but in total, I had already been a city employee for almost 20 years. Later that day, the mayor calls, is transferred to me, and we exchange pleasantries for a little bit, and then the topic of hiring procedures comes up. I don't want you to hire anyone or force your hand, but entitled mom's call made me curious, and I would like to know how candidates are selected. I would be glad to explain, but it would take a while. If you don't have the time, I can send your office the documentation that is sent to the candidates prior to the test, as well as our written policy concerning the selection process. No, I am in no rush. I would like you to explain it to me, just so I'm sure I understand it well. I spend the next 20 to 30 minutes explaining the whole testing process, the grading procedure, and hiring of candidates and reserve lists. When all is done. So once everybody has been assessed, we call the stronger candidates to make sure we keep our facilities as safe as possible. The mayor. As should we. Just out of curiosity, where is entitled kid on the list? I would never tell anyone, but at this point I am just curious. Well, I am a bit uncomfortable with telling you that the entitled kid's rank on the reserve list, but I can tell you she had a 72 on the test. The mayor chuckles. Then I hope we don't need to call her this year. I never smiled as much as I did that day and report to my director. I breathe easy and it's over. 2 months pass by. Great season for my staff. Almost all of our graduates find jobs in their field. Horrible for me. All 90s have been hired or refused the position when called. All high 80s and low 80s are empty. High 70s hired. Mid 70s same. Low 70s. 3 candidates left. 2 weeks left to peak season. I know I have the staff I need for the fall and winter. 8 days later. 8 days left. I get a call from one of the head lifeguards at one of the pools. A teammate twisted an ankle and can't finish the season. I have to call the entitled kid. Entitled kid is hired, assigned to a team. On day 1 struggles on the first training rescue. Comes in 90 minutes later on her second day. On day 3, entitled kid has to jump in to rescue a 5-year-old kid, but almost drowns herself and had to be rescued by the head lifeguard. He saved the kid first. I call Entitled Kid to my office and tell her we have to let her go because she is a liability and a danger to the users, the team, and herself. Entitled Kid.
But it's your fault. I couldn't practice all summer long because you wouldn't hire me. It's not fair.
I understand how you feel, but I have responsibilities towards the team and the citizens, and you also have to understand that your mistake could cost someone their life.
I guess I understand. Could I try again next year?
Sure, but you will have to go through the same process. I suggest you sign up to the training program that is offered and try to use your short experience to learn and improve. I am very understanding and believe people can improve, especially kids trying out for their first job. Our meeting is over, and Entitled Kid seems to be happy with the decision and very happy that she will have another shot. The door flies open. Insert dramatic, scary music here. Entitled Mom.
What? What would you fire my child for? She never had a chance to improve or to practice.
You are responsible for all of this. It's your fault. Entitled Mom is walking around my desk to get in my face. I can feel her breath in my hair. She's about one head taller than me at this point. I'm still seated. My child is not fired, you hear me? You cannot fire her.
It's okay, Mom. I understand what I did, and I get to try again next year.
No, it's not okay. We couldn't go on vacation because we were waiting for his stupid call. You are not fired. Entitled Mom's screaming bout with the air continues for about 2 to 3 minutes. Entitled Kid looks embarrassed. Entitled Mom is beyond red, and sweat is now forming on her forehead, and she starts to spit as she yells. I don't remember anything from those few minutes, but at one point she starts pointing and waving her finger in my face, and accidentally pokes me between my upper lip and my nose. I stand up. I am 6'2", 230 pounds. I used to be a lifeguard and a swimmer, and I look like it. I have a beard and a military-style haircut. I don't yell back, but I raise my voice. Listen to me. Entitled Kid didn't train or ask to train all summer long, so she struggled. She is 17. She will improve and can try again next year. Had she been hired earlier, I know you would have left her behind to go on vacation. She chose to stay on the list. You chose not to go on vacation. She is okay with the decision. You have no business interfering with our disciplinary actions. They do not involve you. Either she was startled, scared, or a bit of both, but almost growling. She stormed out of my office, yelling so everyone at the office could hear. Entitled Mom, I am calling the mayor. This is not over. I will win. Entitled Kid thanked me for my time and shook my hand and said goodbye looking at the floor. I made sure she knew I wasn't angry at her. She smiled a bit, I think, as I said so. Mayor or his office never called our department. Entitled Mom never called me again. Entitled Kid signed up for the training program and got a 98 on the test the following year and was our first lifeguard hire. To call her Entitled Kid now is unfair. Let's call her SHL, Super Head Lifeguard. Super Head Lifeguard gained her new position within 3 years and worked for me for almost 10 more years, but only during the summer. If she isn't the best I ever had, she is a very close second. Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. For more of the best stories from Reddit, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, and I'll see you very soon with some more of the best stories that Reddit has to offer.